Everybody. I would like to call to order the Nevada Commission for the Reconstruction of the V&T Railway. It's Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. It's 9:03 a.m., and we are here at the Carson City Community Center Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom. Tamar, could I get a roll call, please?
Chair Peterson.
Present.
Vice Chair Mitchell.
I'm here.
Treasurer Cruz. Commissioner Hicks.
Here.
Commissioner Schmitter. A quorum's present.
Thank you very much. If everybody could please stand, and we'll do a Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We will move on to agenda item 4, public comment. The public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body. Any public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 5 for possible action, approval of the minutes of the July 26th, 2023 meeting. Does anybody have any edits, changes?
I had 2 small corrections that I gave to Tamar. I don't know
Okay.
if you want me to read them on the record or if it.
Are they easy ones? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just,
Okay.
maybe just say what they are, Stephanie, that'd be great.
So on page 4, in the first paragraph, third line to the bottom, it says, he also wished to provide the commission the opportunity of hiring someone. So it should either be to or of.
Okay.
And then on page 5, under the motion at the middle of the page, it said the motion was scheduled by Commissioner Hicks, but it was seconded. And that's it.
Great. The only thing I was wondering, Stephanie, should we acknowledge, since we added the secretary role, like we say chair and vice chair, treasurer, should we say secretary Stephanie Hicks on the first page?
I mean, that's fine, or we could do it going forward. Either
Sure,
way
okay.
is fine with me.
Okay, all right. Well, let's do that moving forward then. Clay, did you have any? Okay, great, all right. Anybody want to make a, thank you for the changes. Great job, Tamar. This is lovely. I love the reduced number of pages, so thank you so much for that. Anybody want to make a motion on the minutes?
Sure. I move to approve the minutes of July 26, 2023 meeting with the corrections as noted on the record.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's move on to agenda item 6 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding the V&T statement of accounts payable checks paid July 1st to the 31st, 2023. So we have checks totaling $69,976.29 for the month of July. And of that amount, $39,268.95 are actually from fiscal '23. So those were fiscal '23 expenditures. And that difference, the other 30 and change, is for fiscal '24. I know Leah's not here, so I can try and answer any questions if there are any. If not, if anybody wants to make a motion on, it'd be great.
I move to approve the payable checks paid July 30th through 31st, 2023.
Thank you for that motion, Stephanie. Do I have a second?
Yeah, this is Clay. I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Great, thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item 7 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding the adjusted V&T fiscal year 23-24 budget reports for the period ended July 31st, 2023. So on this particular report, we've got adjusted revenue totaling $1,000 and expenses totaling $31,707.34. Any questions or concerns on this item? Okay. Anybody want to do a motion on this one?
Sure, I can do that. I move to approve the adjusted V&T fiscal year 2023-2024 budget report period ending July 31st, 2023.
Great. Thank you for that motion, Clay. Do I have a second?
I second.
Great. Thank you for the second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on agenda item 7?
So I'm
Oh, go ahead, Clay.
I'm just assuming that that there are some things that have not been recorded yet or in process, especially on the revenue side.
That would be correct, yes. I can confirm with you. I talked to Leah, and basically this is for the, I think it's one run on the weekend where Tom pays us back the $500 per day that the 18 is used, so that's what the $1,000 is. So yeah,
Got it.
yeah, I think it's just a timing thing again with the bank statements and getting the checks in and being reflected in Tyler. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other concerns on this one? All right, well, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to agenda item 8 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding a proposed agreement, for on-call engineering services between the V&T Commission and KL Door Consulting LLC for a not to exceed amount of $15,000 at a rate of $150 per hour for engineering services and $90 per hour for drafting services for fiscal year 23-24. And Stephanie, is it okay if I let you? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we are submitting this for our review on behalf of Ken, who is here. There are primarily 2 tasks in regards to this on-call engineering services contract. The first one is the Eastgate Station parking area resurfacing construction management. And we did, maybe I'll have to talk about this under a later item, but we did have our pre-construction meeting on site and that all went very well. The second task is the general engineering and track maintenance of way coordination. We set this up under our standard template that has been approved previously by the commission, but Ken did have a couple of requests for changes to the standard contract, and so we brought that forward for the commission to review and decide if they're willing to make those changes. So I will let Ken explain them, and then we can talk further.
That sounds great, Ken. Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, my gosh, I'm in the hot seat here again. I was hoping to avoid this from now on forever. Basically, before we get into some of the technical details, what I was trying to do is provide essentially, besides help you guys out with finishing that paving project, is a transition for me leaving and some of the things that need to be transferred, other responsibilities need to be transferred to other people. For example, I'm currently listed by choice as the principal railroad engineer on the bridge and structures management plan, which is submitted to the FRA. I'm no longer that person. So, and I guess that is the bottom line is the buck stops with somebody, but right now you have no buck stopping with nobody, okay? But there's a number of other changes that need to be done, and I'm trying to help transition through some of those items. Now, I'm assuming the new administrative assistant, assuming that contract is, she's gonna be taking care of the FRA monthly ridership reports, okay? And hopefully, the current folks will explain to her how that process works and what tools she's got to do that. But that's something that's got to be done, even if we're not running trains. We can get into a couple other things here, but basically on the contract, the principal item I had on the proposed contract was your template requires E&O insurance. And I have not carried E&O insurance since I started my business, which is in 2014, I think. Previous discussions I had with previous general counsel, felt it was not necessary because of the, what do you want to say, lack of major projects we were probably doing, and they were willing to, the board at that time was willing to take a chance that I wasn't going to screw something up really bad. So I said, no, I don't want to get E&O insurance. Now, for one client, I probably wouldn't have to spend a lot of money on it. It'd probably be fairly cheap, but I still have to go through the effort of doing it, and I don't want to get E&O insurance. As far as the affidavit of that I am a sole proprietorship and I don't have any employees, I talked to Mihaela and I chatted last night, and I said, I don't have a problem signing that. So basically, I'm fine with that. As far as the work, again, what we're talking about is the CM is basically to take care of the paperwork / coordination on construction of the project there. Again, as you're aware, it's a public works project, and there's a lot of hoops they have to go through. And since the prevailing wage was lowered back down to $100,000, we've got to go through those steps too, which doesn't really involve much on the commission's standpoint. That's really between the contractor and the labor commission, but the owner in our case is supposed to basically keep an eye on making sure that they submit their certified time rolls and a couple other things. And there's a couple of notifications that have to be done. It's all pretty basic stuff. Shouldn't be a big issue with this project, but somebody's got to do the paperwork. So I said, I'm fine, we can do it. And Kent Hanford is doing the coordination in the field. Just talked to Kent, by the way, on that. And they were going to be doing some patchwork tomorrow, but now that's going to get deferred probably till the first part of next week. And he's going to let us know as soon as he finds out. Basically, that's about it. The rates that I've proposed on this proposal are the same as I had. They haven't changed from the last contract or 2021 or whatnot, and actually even goes further back than that. Again, mainly here is just whatever you guys need in the next few months to help transition so I can go play more.
You can actually be retired then.
Well,
now.
I was just joking. We
Like
got back from
Candy
our
is
main trip and I got
actually retired.
8.1 miles per gallon taking
Yeah.
my trailer.
Holy
All
smokes.
7,000 miles of it. What a bargain.
Indeed.
I really don't have a whole lot else. Basically, David,
Yeah.
what I wanted to do under this temporary contract, if you will, is make sure that we did our bridge inspection,
Okay.
even though I'm not necessarily the guy that's responsible for if it falls down. At least we can provide that inspection services, and that's a federal requirement
Okay.
that we do a bridge inspection once a year. So you're just the same as the Union Pacific. They got 6,000 bridges, you have one, but we got to go through the same hoop. And then, basically it's whatever else we want to take care of. And as we, bridge and structure inspections, and basically make a to-do list and try to help you out. I know there may or may not be some changes in the actual maintenance structure going forward. Because as you know, Gabe is basically remote working right now at this point. He still runs the company, still has the contract commission. We're still doing inspections. There's a certain amount of minor maintenance that can be done, but he is essentially running that company on the computer and phone. So nothing's going to get left from an inspection and reporting standpoint, but major repair work we need to think about going forward, how you guys are going to want to deal with that. If I can help out there, that's great. So that's about it, unless there's other questions for me. So
No, well, thank you, Ken. Appreciate you being willing to try to help us through the transition while we do figure out with all these changes up in the air. I'm grateful for that. Can I just, so to clarify something, Ken and Mihaela, on the second, well, page 4 of 8, so where it has, Ken, where you had deleted the workers' comp and the employees' liability insurance, is that back in play through the waiver? I just want to make sure, or the affidavit, sorry, that I'm tracking correctly. Or is that still if Ken is signing the affidavit, is that still being deleted, I guess?
Mihaela Niagos, Deputy District Attorney for the record. So, Ken proposed basically the deletion of 2 paragraphs under insurance, and that is number A and B, workers' compensation, and pursuant to NRS Chapter 616, it is required to sign an affidavit of rejection of coverage for workers' compensation. So that affidavit that he's willing to sign only covers the requirement under Section 1. Section 2, which is actually C, which is the professional liability, errors and omission liability, is not covered by the same affidavit. And that is, I'm a little bit unclear because the previous contract that expired at the end of June had this provision in it. And I'm not sure if your agreement with the previous legal counsel and the commission was to waive professional liability insurance, because according to the contract that was in place, it was required. So to answer your question, his signing that affidavit is not going to cover us if there are any issues in the future with,
Which,
Just to clarify, I missed that on the previous contract.
okay,
I made a mistake assuming it was going to be identical to the contract that had been prepared for me back in 2020,
gotcha.
21. So
Right.
going through that the other day, yes, Hale's absolutely right. There was a provision that I was supposed to have errors and misinsurance. I was not.
Okay.
So at that point, I was in violation of the contract. Probably should have been fired. I wish you would have.
Now
At
you
that
tell us.
point, you missed your shot. Okay,
Just something to keep
I'm not
in
going to get
mind.
E&O insurance, guys.
Okay. Okay.
So this is something to keep in mind, and maybe Ken can explain a little bit more in regards to his scope of work and his responsibility under the previous contract versus what he's, the 2 tasks that he has for the year going forward. I cannot advise the commission to go
Sure.
forward with, professional services that are not covered by professional liability insurance, but that's something that you may want to consider, like if that insurance actually was in place in the previous 2 years and the extent of the services that he will be provided in the next 11 months when he states that he will not have that insurance.
Stephanie has a question.
I just actually just had some information, and again, absolutely appreciate that Ken being willing to, continue on with us and help us through this next project and the transition to someone else. When this came up, I asked some questions in the city because, it's standard language in our public works contracts as well. And what I learned is, it's very rare, but not a complete no, to exclude either of these 2 things. But it really depends on that scope of work. So like, for example, I think for the construction management that you're doing, I would be comfortable that you didn't have the liability insurance for that specific task. But if we're doing additional engineering or design in any way, and I guess I would also ask the question about the bridge inspection, whether Kent has that coverage. Those are things where I think it is important that we have somebody who is licensed because, you know, that's what that insurance is for. Hopefully we'll never need it, but that's what it's for. And so I guess I would just state or ask, you know, I know you said that you're not interested in getting it, but I mean, if that was something that could be built in as overhead in your rates, if you maybe needed to adjust your rates to cover your costs for that, I mean, that usually that's how people build their rates, and I think I would be understanding of that. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to move forward on the first scope, you know, the task one scope, keep the construction management going forward, and then ask that you consider, you know, if maybe you come back with a different rate structure for the second half that would allow you to, you know, cover your costs for that insurance. Because I think that's the area where it gets a little concerning for me.
I appreciate your concerns. As required by NRS 625, and any proposal engineer puts out, they're supposed to state a number of things: cost of project, time frame, and whether or not they carry professional liability insurance. As included in my proposal to this commission, I specifically stated I did not carry professional liability insurance. So probably we shouldn't have gone forward if I had known that I was going to have to get professional liability insurance.
Is it something that, is this a type of policy that we as a commission could provide? In other words, take it out on behalf of Ken for his work?
I don't have the slightest idea to answer that question. Mahalo, do you know?
I
Yeah.
don't. I can research to see if that's a possibility. Something else to keep in mind is also, I know that there is an annual bridge inspection that has to be done. Do we know, and maybe that is a question, Ken, as part of your transition, what is the deadline for that? So the commission can consider maybe, you know, securing the services of a different engineer in the near future. So the deadline for the bridge inspection.
I believe it's 49 CFR 237, and you can certainly take a look at that. I believe David has a copy of the entire, somewhat dated now, but 49 CFR 200-299 regulations govern railroad, but there's a specific section in there regarding bridges. And that explicitly delineates what those requirements are. So again, that's something you can certainly take a look at. To paraphrase it, what it says is you're doing annual inspections, but you have 540 days
From the last one.
between the first inspection and the next one. So they essentially give you a 6-month lag period. Now, the other factor there with that is that if you were not to do that inspection, you just have to take the bridge out of service, don't allow any train traffic over it, and then you have to perform that inspection prior to allowing any train traffic in the future. So you've got another 6 months to go out and get another engineer if you'd like to propose doing that.
Because I think isn't 1 year this fall, and then we have 6. I think it was like May 13th or something. Would
Something
be the
like that. I can check the dates
540,
on
yeah.
on the
I'm trying to think.
previous
Yeah.
on the previous inspection. I believe
Yeah.
it was conducted and finalized in November or December, the inspection.
Something like that.
And then took Kent a little bit to finish the report after
Right.
that. So there's certainly other firms that do that. I would suggest you get a hold of the folks that almost had the rail bikes contract. I believe they contract with the operation to do that. So
Okay.
you talked to Robert Pinoli. Northwest Engineering in Pennsylvania does a number of them. But a lot of the small railroads, they don't have engineering, and they don't have structural engineers and whatnot on board, so they contract that work out.
So Ken, just to follow up on Stephanie's question, so if Kent is going to do the bridge, that'd be the plan, right? Because Kent has done those in the past, right? But under you. So would he have
No.
so then nobody would have any kind of insurance to perform the bridge inspection. And if I understand what Stephanie was getting at is with the CM construction management, or is that what you're talking? But you're just talking about specifically for the parking lot. So that's the paperwork side of
Correct.
things, because SNC is actually doing the
Mhm.
work, whereas your concern, it would be, Kent, under Ken, would be performing the bridge inspection, and then, but nobody has the necessary
liability
insurance, but they're
insurance.
actually performing physical, work
The
because they're doing the
inspection.
inspection. So,
There's also the third item, which is the ability to subcontract without written consent from the commission. And maybe, Ken, you can explain why it's important at this junction to have that modification in the contract. And it may be for
I'm not a
practical
draftsman.
reasons.
I'm not a construction management person. I'm not a material tester. I'm not a surveyor. Okay? So I have always in the past contracted that work out. For example, surveying is done by Manhart Consulting. Geotechnical investigations and reports been done by Gary Luce with RCI, now with Wood Rogers. So there's a number of people. I'm a one-man shop.
Right.
So I can't do everything. And for me to subcontract that work out, you have to trust me. If you're not willing to trust me, I would like to call it quits right now.
Right, but
Okay.
I think the question is, that was the provision in the contract in the previous 2 years, and perhaps the commission would like to hear your challenges with having that provision in the contract in the last 2 years and why you don't want to have it now. Obviously, this is up for discussion, and
yeah.
ultimately, it's going to be up to the commission to
I guess
decide.
I
It's
don't
not
understand
because
the
they're
question.
not
I
trusting
just
you.
explained it.
So,
I've used subcontracts to help the commission through this process. And if that has not been working out for you, think I'm
no,
basically what the provision
Ken,
is for
Ken,
subcontracting.
Ken,
Obviously.
Ken, if I can just, please stop you for just a second. The question was why you would like to remove from this current contract, different from the last 2-year contract, the ability to subcontract with anyone you want without us being aware of who you're subcontracting with. We're totally fine with the subcontracting, but you remove the provision where you would consult and confirm with us the use of a subcontractor. So that's a change, right, to the last contract. That's the question why you wanted to make that change. Not that we're totally fine with you using subcontractors, we totally realize that. It's just taking us out of the loop.
Well, again, I understand what the fact is, that this is a process. You got to follow these processes exactly. All I'm saying is, to me, you don't have any faith in the fact that I'm going to be doing everything for the benefit of the commission. The fact that I only charge a half to a third of my time for the commission, and now you're loading me up with this paperwork. My error in not thoroughly reviewing that previous contract before I signed it. I was stupid to do that, okay? I should have looked at it and it brought the issues up at that point. Had I gone through that, I would have had the same objections at that point. So,
Sure. Okay.
so basically at this point, Kent is performing as a subcontractor on the CM.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that's okay, at least for this, but sounds like we're not going forward beyond the CM at this point, so, and I'm totally fine with that.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Ken or Mihaela? So if we just do the first part, which is currently what's underway for the parking lot, so that's, we would change this to 5K instead of 15. Is that
That is correct.
correct? Yes, okay. Which I think I'm okay with that. I mean, I trust you, Stephanie, too, because you come from the public works side, so your conversations with the team here in Carson City, if that seems to be okay, then maybe we just deal with this one part, Ken, and let's just figure out finishing the parking lot and, get all the paperwork, everything done and off the table. But Clay, are you comfortable with?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
With that, okay. So, all right. So just to be clear then, if we reduce the scope and it's just, Mihaela, we're reducing the scope of work, we're reducing the cost, is it 12B is still, and I just want to be sure, Ken, for you too, just to make sure we're all tracking on the same wavelength here. 12B is still deleted, 12C are still deleted. And then 20's not deleted, but it's just basically, I mean, Ken's going to use Kent. But that other, or no, I guess 20 is still deleted then.
I think part of it is
A part of
deleted.
it is.
Okay,
Yeah, so what remains is that the whole contract can't be assigned to someone else, but it would be silent on subcontracting.
okay. Okay,
Yeah, or at this point, Kent, Hanford Consulting LLC is assisting me on the construction management. You could put it right in the motion to say that, yes, it's okay to use him. I think that would be, you've been
yeah.
advised and consented.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and nobody up here, Ken, has any problems with Kent. I mean, we totally realize he has been the man to do the inspection. So, okay. Is there anything else that we need to consider then? So
Probably just referencing in the scope of work that we're just including task one. And
task one. Okay. Okay. All right.
And the accompanying amount,
Yes.
and that task two is not to be included for now.
Okay. Okay. And Ken, that will work for you? Just deal with this first piece of the puzzle and,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay, I appreciate that. All right. Any other questions? Anybody want to make a motion? I guess we have to list the things then that we're going to be
Including in the,
including and not including too then, if we're removing the provisions? Or how do you want us to do that, Mayhala?
The proposed motion is as discussed on the record.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
that is fine. I think it's clear enough what
Okay.
we're removing
all
in
right then.
terms of the scope of work and what stays on.
Do you want to make that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
motion,
This is
Okay.
Clay. I move to approve the agreement with the noted changes as discussed on the record.
Thank you for that motion, Clay. Do you have a second?
I second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Thank you, Ken. We will get an updated, version. Okay, great. We'll get everything signed. So thank you.
Ken, I will email you the contract.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to agenda item 9 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding a proposed contract for services of independent contractor with Cheryl Bailey for executive assistant services for a not-to-exceed amount of $50,000 for fiscal year 23-24 at a rate of $5,000 per month, with the option to renew for 3 additional years if agreed upon by both parties, and the renewal is in the best interest of the commission. So just as a reminder, we did the request for proposals for the executive assistant position. It was posted. We did not receive any responses by the deadline of June 15, 2023. The commission let the contract without a competitive solicitation in accordance with NRS 332.148 and reviewed applications at the July 26, 2023 commission meeting. At such time, the direction was given to me to enter into contract negotiations with Cheryl and to bring a proposed contract to our next meeting, and that's exactly what you all have in your packet. I'm happy to say that we had a great conversation with Cheryl, and that included Allison and Leah, and we worked through sort of where we think things stand, right, relative to what Tom and Candy have, right, taken on, and what was going on. Also, when we get to the next agenda item on the PEX front with Carla. And the only change, I should note, for the record, that we did add back sponsorships, just potentially looking into some sponsorships. And that came about as a result of our PEX conversation, right? Because last year, I know it was too late in the game, but we presented a whole sponsorship package to the rail events people, but by the time, we got the final approval. So anyway, that is the one thing that we added back into the scope of work. And Cheryl, if I'm missing anything, please, feel free to interject. But that was basically the only thing that we added. And then just in fairness to Cheryl, the reason it's a flat rate, Cheryl is going to track her hours, but not knowing with all these changes kind of where things stand, I felt it, you know, Cheryl stepping in to help us. We don't know what we don't know by switching up all of these vendors and divvying things up. So just to have some comfort with a flat fee per month to get her through at least this fiscal year, fiscal 24, and then with Cheryl tracking her hours, should she choose obviously to want to stay on board, we do an amendment to extend it for length, then we can figure out if it needs to move to an hourly structure or not. So that's my brief synopsis. And Cheryl was great, and I appreciated her taking the time to kind of go through everything with Leah and Allison, and she's going to begin in earnest tomorrow probably, moving forward, from a transition standpoint, with Allison and those guys being on through the end of next month. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah, if anybody has any. Okay, you want to make a motion on this one?
Sure. Let's hurry up and do it before she changes her mind.
She's still here. Go, go, go.
I move to approve the contract as proposed and discussed on the record.
Thank you for that motion. Stephanie, do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, you are official, Cheryl. So I actually have, if you want to sign this one and date it, that would be great, just in case you leave and change your mind. I know what Candy was thinking. I just said it out loud. So, all righty. Thank you, Cheryl. This is great. So we appreciate you coming on board to help us out. So wonderful. All right, with that, we will move on to agenda item 10 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed contract with C.J. Wilson LLC for the Polar Express Theater Production Services for a not to exceed amount of $115,775, effective through or to January 31st, 2024. So reminder on this one, a request for proposals for the Polar Express Theater Production Services position was posted and no responses were received by that deadline we set back in June 15th, 2023. The commission let the contract with a competitive solicitation in accordance with NRS 332.148 and directed me and Commissioner Schmitter to entertain additional avenues. And I'm happy to say that Commissioner Schmitter and I are proposing a contract with C.J. Wilson LLC for the Polar Express Theater Production Services. And I know Michelle is not here, so I'll just kind of walk you through, and many thanks to Candy and Tom, because we were all a part of a lovely, I think it was a morning meeting to go through all of the different elements of Polar Express. During that meeting, Tom did commit to the fourth car, which was great for Polar Express, and you have to forgive me, Candy, it'll be kind of a hybrid, like a kind of a table dining car, it's going to be a coach car. Well, that's even better. We'll have more seats then. Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Okay, thank you, Candy. Yeah, okay. So we'll have the fourth car. So the original proposal that Carla put together, she had multiple scenarios in it. And so what Michelle and I asked her to do was to go back based on a four-car proposal, revised for the necessary staffing. And then the other piece of this was for her to, I want to say, add back, I guess, the North Pole casting. She kind of had it in there, but it initially wasn't necessarily open to doing it. But then we said, well, we don't have anybody else to do it. So if you would consider doing that and then putting a cost that you're comfortable, with handling the North Pole casting. So that is where we landed in terms of the total cost. Now, I also just want to say, on the budget side of things, what we were working with during that meeting for Polar was $119,132 of total PEX cost. Now, I do realize, and something will have to come forward in front of the commission, to use the lady, whose name is escaping me right now, that did the decorations in the depot. And Allison did speak with her about that, and it sounds like she's willing to work with us for PEX this November and December. So we will be a little bit over, right? Because I think we paid her 7,500, something like that. I think Allison said during the meeting, if I recall. So, we might be in that like 122, 123 range by the time we factor that back in. So I just wanted to be upfront about that with the two of you.
Thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't think about that. But there is a statement on page 5 about John at Star Sound also helping set up the sound system, and that is a separate cost. But I don't have any idea what that cost us previously. So
Oh gosh, I don't know the answer to that question
okay,
myself. Candy, I'm just trying to think of our conversation about speakers and the microphones and everything. So the system is already in place, right? So I think it's just a question of fine tuning it, but there was something about Apple's versus Dell PCs, right? Something doesn't work with PCs, and I don't know if that's maybe why this was in there, because Carla does not have Apple laptops. And so I wish I could remember. There's something about rail events and whatever, the soundtrack thing, or what, I don't know, it's some program, but it works with Apples. And so maybe that's what this was about. Is that do you remember, was that the Star Sound thing? I'm not a sound guy. So, okay. Okay. So we'll have to probably tinker with that part of it. My hope is because I feel like we have the Bose speakers on the train, we have, the whole setup in the depot, that we just need to get Carla to work with the way that the new wiring is and the speakers. But I don't know how much we paid John. I'm not sure if that was a direct cost or if that was through Allison or she just absorbed it. I don't know.
okay. I guess just for us to know that decorations and sound could both cost extra. So.
Yeah, and you're right. So, and I didn't catch this part. So, I mean, the good news is we bought all the garland, so it's just a question of batteries, basically, for this year. So that cost was last fiscal year. So I don't know that we really are going to be incurring too much, other than the cost for the services of the lady to actually decorate the depot up. So, and I think we agreed we would just keep it similar, maybe little tinkery changes, but we would keep it somewhat similar to what we did last November and December. But I'll make a note of this question, and I will ask Allison how and what that all means with the transition to Carla. Are there any other questions on this particular contract? Oh, and it's for 23 nights as well. Yes. So the one extra night. Sorry. So so this is for the full 23 nights. So it is a little bit more than the original proposal that Carla sent. It was because she only did it for 22, not 23 nights. Not that means anything against the budget that we had set aside, but that was one of the other reasons it was up a little bit cost-wise from her original proposal. Anybody want to do a motion on this one? Okay, thank you.
I move to approve the contract as proposed.
Thank you for that motion, Stephanie. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries unanimously. All right. I will reach out this afternoon to rail events, excuse me, and let them know that we have an approval in place, and then we can move forward with everything we need to do with bells and all that good stuff. So, and I thank Carla too for being willing to come back and put together a really nice proposal. So this is great. All right. With that, we will move on to agenda item 11. And thank you, Candy. And please thank Tom too for helping through the discussions on this and making sure we're, I'm sure we missed something, or not thinking of, but we'll get it all resolved. So, all right, we're on to agenda item 11, discussion and possible action regarding a declaration of default of Roy Street Properties LLC for failure to pay certain installments provided in the promissory note dated November 30th, 2021, related to a certain property with APN 008-522-15 located in Carson City, Nevada, and authorizing the chair to deliver a declaration of default to the trustee or otherwise initiate the foreclosure proceedings. So background on this, following a 6-month delinquency in payment, I guess Chair Peterson, is asking for direction from the V&T Commission whether to send Roy L. Street a notice that payment is immediately due and payable, asking that the balance be paid within 7 days. The V&T will need to declare that Roy Street Properties LLC is in default and authorize the chair to deliver a declaration of default to the trustee in order for the foreclosure proceedings to be initiated. So I should just full disclosure, Monday I did send the letter of notice payable and due through certified mail to Mr. Street, and then I did follow up with an email to him as well, and I CC'd legal counsel on that. So that part is underway, and that's my update. If obviously doing my part in this process. As a friendly reminder, we did do the same thing in January, if I'm not mistaken, right when Mr. Street was behind, and then if you recall, then he paid, but it's like he paid, but then he got ahead of the payment schedule by a month, and so I'm not sure if the same thing will happen. But this note, if Mr. Street had been paying on time, I mean, it would have been paid off this November, right? So I'm not sure what has happened with him. I haven't spoken to him, for the record, but so. Any questions or anything on this? I can try and answer, but yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
So just on the process and the motion, it says to deliver a declaration of default to the trustee or otherwise initiate the foreclosure proceedings. Is that the whole action we're doing today, or is it a one or the other? Just so that I make sure I understand.
Mihaela, do you want to jump in
Oh,
on that?
yes.
Thank you.
So, to be clear, Chairperson Peterson will have to wait for the 7 days to pass since the notice was served in order to start the process. So, one option for the commission would be to direct Mr. Peterson to deliver the notice once the 7 days are due. And the other one would be to come back at the next meeting and see if there was any action from, I can't remember his name.
Mr. Street? Yeah,
Mr.
Roy
Street,
Mhm.
yes. So those would be the options at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we were in the same position the last time. I think we had
Yeah,
to wait.
You were able to
7
send the notice, and
yeah.
this is not something that required the commission's
Yeah,
action. But to take those next steps, which will be to deliver the notice of default, that would require the
Yeah.
commission to weigh in and create that authorization on the chairperson.
and it was just a timing thing, right? But only because I received the draft letter. I did need Allison to give me the correct amount to include on said letter, and I didn't have that until over the weekend. So the earliest I could send this out through certified mail was Monday, right? So yeah, we certainly, I think, could come back in September, and I can let the commission know if we did receive a payment from Roy catching up for the 6 months or not, and then we can go from there. So,
I like that option.
okay,
Yeah, that seems fine.
great. So we don't need to take any additional action
No,
Technically
no,
today,
that would have
okay.
been if we were past the 7 days
Sure.
after the notice was sent, but we're still within
Okay,
the
then
time frame.
yeah, so then I will inform everybody next month what happens. All right. Well, great. Let's move on to agenda item 12 for discussion only. So these are monthly non-action items. 12A is a chair update on engagement with state and Nevada agencies with common goals and objectives regarding the long-term viability and sustainability of the V&T Commission. With thanks to all of you at last month's meeting, I did reach out to Administrator Friedman with the Division of Museums and History. Unfortunately, Mr. Friedman has given his notice to the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs and will be leaving next month. So I don't know if I'm going to end up being able to have the meeting toward the end of the month. That was the plan, end of this month, or not. I'm waiting to hear back from Myron and potentially the director of DTCA to see. My gut tells me I think they want to wait until they hire a replacement for Myron. So that's the update that I have for everybody. But I was with Dan Thielen yesterday, who is the museum director at the Nevada State Railroad Museum, and he's still very excited about the prospect of what hopefully could come to fruition on the state of Nevada side of things. But as far as an official conversation, that's sort of tabled at the moment until the personnel situation is rectified there on the DMH side. So that's my update for the commission on 12A. Any questions?
I was just going to say, it seems that there may be some value in, if it's possible to get it as a transition note to whoever comes in, that
Yeah.
that this is not a new idea, but that
Yep.
the conversation had been brought up, so that it's not asking them to consider it as something new that they would have to make a decision on, but that it was a continuation of a process that already started. So even if it's not an
Yeah.
official museum, if there's a way to kind of say, hey, if you can
Yep.
grease the skids or whatever, as far as making sure that whoever picks up that mantle can pick up that conversation as well.
As I begrudgingly wished Myron good luck with the new museum that he's going to launch back east, I sort of said that.
Great.
Yeah, just as far as transition, lay out the background, but I'll formalize something more than my funny email to him. That way, yeah, we don't lose any steam on this. So,
Great.
okay, yeah, sounds great. All right, we'll move on to 12B, operations report. Candy, do you want to say anything on behalf of Tom and VTRR? Yes, you do. Oh, wow. Cheryl, this could take another couple of hours. Oh, don't forget to push the button, please. Yeah.
Okay, do you have an extra copy that we can put on the back of the room? And then I can also share mine. Thank you.
Mahela, are you going to put one in the back?
Okay.
Thank you, Candy.
Candy Duncan.
And we, just for the record, we put a copy of the late material from Candy in the back of the room, and then we will get that posted to the website after the meeting.
Okay.
So thank you.
So I spoke with Tom, who obviously is not able to be here this morning, and these are the things he asked me to let you know had been happening.
Right.
So we ran 4 of the long line trains in August, and they all went fine. Lots of happy people, no problems. We're still in daily operations up in Virginia City until the end of October, so 7 times a day, 7 days a week. We're preparing for Heritage Days on Labor Day weekend, and that is the Civil War reenactments that happen up in Virginia City on those battle trains. And there's been a lot of interest in those. We are on a tentative schedule to move the Connex box at Eastgate next Tuesday and maybe this Friday. Tom has lined up a Santa for the VIP car for Polar Express. He's had a plumber and an electrician look at the hot chocolate room at Eastgate and has developed a game plan. Some immediate repairs are replacement of incorrect breakers in the electric panels, labeling of all circuits, replacement of incorrect outlets, and perhaps adding an additional circuit. He also noted other electrical code issues. He wants to replace the broken security light outside. The rain gutters are broken and they need to be repaired as well. And he also suggests adding drain holes to that concrete platform that's in the handicap ramp that, fills with water every time it rains or snows and then freezes over. So he wants to eliminate that hazard. He accessed the underground utilities for emergency shutoffs and winter drainage, and adding the interior plumbing to the hot chocolate room and finishing the exterior work to the hot chocolate room. So those are all things he's recommending doing. Then he also believes that we should delegate to you, the railway commissioners, to volunteer to make the 15,000 cups of hot chocolate we're going to need for Polar Express, and he's working on those schedules for you right now.
That's so nice of
Isn't it?
him.
Yeah, he said he'd take that
I did
over.
make hot chocolate, and I had to carry those giant,
Yeah,
whatever those
those
box
Hawker
things are called.
boxes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hawker chocolate
Those
boxes.
are for the young, that's for
Exactly.
sure.
That's a sub, yes, 48, if you're under
Yeah.
48, yes.
And then Ken Dorr showed the emergency warning monitor for the holding tanks, which doesn't work. He said they're working on the fourth coach, and that's the one that he had said maybe would be a table car, but it is going to be a coach, which is good because that will give you a lot more seats. And so
That's
I
that's
think that will
excellent.
make people
Okay.
happy. So that's good.
Oh, could I, Candy, may I
uh-huh.
ask, just interrupt for just a second? So with us changing from the table car to the coach car, that will change our passenger counts too. So
It
we'll have to
should.
get that all figured out
Right.
then for the per run, yeah,
Yeah.
for
If-
ticket sales. And then we'll need to know, yeah, for the shoot, for the ordering of all the trinkets.
It's going to increase it.
Yes.
If it's the same as current passenger, the coach cars, it's 72 passengers.
Okay.
So
Okay.
instead of, I think it's 60 for the Jersey Lil, the table car.
Mm-hmm.
So it will add that many
Okay.
more.
But you're working on that then, just to confirm the
Right.
number of seats by
I
car?
I
Okay.
just, yeah, I just found
Yeah.
out today that he'd made
Okay.
this change, so I'll talk
We'll
to
have
him
to
and-
let, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Carla, I know Carla's obviously
Right.
out of town, but we'll have to let her know
Right.
too, because does that change? Anyway, I'll keep my question to myself. So, yeah, I was just
Yeah.
thinking if it changes casting at all by going to more people or
I don't think
not.
so.
Are we okay?
I mean, it's just one car.
Just one car. True.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And then he said that he talked to the rail bike manufacturer and they said they could have us a motor for trials in less than a month. The Sierra Fort Bragg Railroad was denied their patent application on their rail bikes. He's removed the wheels on the new 1926 steam engine number 30, and they're turning the drivers and completing I'm not sure what this is, 1472
That's the
day
1472. Yeah,
engineer-
with the boiler
yeah.
inspection. Yeah, 14.
Right.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, it is
Wow.
good.
That's
And then up there in Virginia City, he's added drainage and pavers to the depot up there, so it's made it a lot nicer. It won't be so muddy in the wintertime. He said there was a little damage to the track with this past storm. And then he asked about getting a vendor list and what's been ordered for the Polar Express event. And I believe, I remember back in May, that Leah may have indicated that she had an inventory of everything. And
Yes.
then this past Sunday, I met Carla out at Eastgate, and we went and saw where, we didn't obviously go
Right.
through everything, but we saw there's a lot of bells, a lot of cups, a lot of merchandise that we did find in the Connex, so.
Excellent. And I did receive an email from Carla directly. She CC'd Tom. I don't know. I don't think you were on it. And I'm sorry for that. I should have added you back in when I responded. I did send an email to Allison and to Leah about the Galaxy speakers. There's something about there's 4.
Oh, yeah, there's some speakers missing.
Yeah,
That's what
4,
they
but we're
said.
missing 4, and they
Mhm.
thought the blue building housed the other 4 speakers. But as far as the inventory for all things PEX,
Mhm.
Leah's supposed to be transmitting that. If she hasn't already, sent it to Carla. It's forthcoming as far as
Oh, okay.
everything that was left over. Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
I'll follow up with her because I will be out of town myself after today. But I'll follow up before I leave tonight and just see where they're at with that.
Okay, good. And then he's been working on a digital brochure to attract the filming industry to the railroad, both lines. And I've seen copies of the ads, and they're really beautiful. So he's working on getting that in the Hollywood Variety publication and an online magazine in October when
The film. Mhm.
Killers of the Flower Moon is released.
Do you think? Because I haven't seen that. Is Tom close to the finished product on the ad? Would he be able to share that with us?
I think so,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Great.
I should have thought of that. I
That's
could
okay.
have
No,
gotten
no.
copies of but we can
No
make sure you
worries.
see them. Make sure
Yeah.
you see them. And then from my work, I have been answering tons of Polar Express questions. People are in a panic mode because the tickets aren't on sale yet. So yesterday, I changed the recording on the phone to say, tickets will go on sale September 14th. And I thought that would eliminate a lot of angst. It caused more angst. And so I looked at my phone yesterday afternoon. I went, what are all these phone calls? And they're all people, when on September 14th? What time on September 14th? Can we buy them in person? Are there more? I mean, so anyway, it's going to be crazy, but it's good. I bet it sells out pretty fast. And so that's mainly what I'm dealing with now is lots and lots and lots of Polar questions. And I figured that's what would happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's unless you are explicit, I guess you still get questions.
Still,
Will there be a pre-ticket sale before that 5 p.m.?
When will the email come out?
Yeah. Right.
And then am I on the list? I don't know. I can't see the list, but I'm assuming if you filled out the information.
Yeah.
But anyway, so lots of
Okay.
a lot of concerns.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is a great update, and I feel like Mihaela, we kind of addressed 12B and C since we have operations, regular operations from train operations. So I think
That is fine.
we covered those two. Thank you, Candy.
Sure.
And again, thanks for helping with
Yeah.
everybody else to onboard. Any questions for Candy? Okay. If
I was going to mention, maybe it would relieve some of the angst if you added to the message that we are adding another car, so there will be increased capacity without any specifics, but at least say.
But then I'm gonna get, well,
Of
how much
course.
is
what does that
gonna
mean?
be?
How many
Right,
extra
exactly.
tickets is that?
I know.
yeah.
know. There's
Oh,
no way
God.
to win in this
No,
one, is
there
there?
really isn't.
No, it's a good bad problem to have, I guess, right? Shows the
Yeah.
man. No, that's great. Thank you, Candy. I appreciate your update. Thank you, and thank Tom too for us.
Sure.
All right, we'll move on to 12D, upcoming meeting. So our next one, right here in this room, 9 a.m., September 27th, 2023. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's in the middle of NACO, Nevada NACO. I'm going to be out in Elko.
Oh, and you won't.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll make
Should
sure
still
that
be
we
able to
still have
conduct
3.
business,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, and I
With
may be
that?
able to dial
Do
in.
your thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, NACO. Nothing important happens there.
Oh, not really. You're a small county. You guys, you don't even
Check
need
it out.
this.
I'll be
Yeah.
like, hey guys, put it on hold. I've
Yeah,
got a meeting.
Yeah, you have a V&T meeting, and we got serious business to tend to.
Chair, do we need to recess this meeting briefly to ensure your boarding order, or is that?
We are.
I'm just kidding.
I'm going to use this. All right, let's move on to 13. Commissioner comments or announcements and requests for information. Does anyone have anything they'd like? Go ahead, Stephanie, please.
Quickly, wanted to say that our pre-construction meeting went really well on site. I heard Ken say that there might be a change to the schedule, so I'll follow up with him on that because we did have a schedule for There's 4 different days that they're going to be out there, and they're kind of spread out. Nothing will be 4 days in a row, but it's because they're fitting us in, and that's great because we'll get done sooner than later. We being the city, plan to send out a press release just to notify people that are either going to the little airfield or to the landfill of the construction days, just in case. But really, most of it is going to be up out of the way, and shouldn't really impede anybody. But anyway, things are moving forward, and we're excited.
Thank you for handling that for us. I really appreciate that, so thank you. Clay, do you have any?
Yeah,
anything
no,
you
just a
wanna-
big thank you to my fellow commissioners. We've got a lot of good work done this month, and
Yeah.
and carrying the load on that along with the rest of our crew. So thank you.
It's good. It's exciting. New charting a new course. So, yeah, my thanks to everybody for helping with all of this. So appreciate it. All right. Well, we'll move on to 14, public comment. Our second public comment period. Any takers? Seeing none. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
This is Clay, so moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.